scene 4, which is silicon or silicone, depending on its state. Tiffany, we dubbed this piece in rehearsal as productivity versus pleasure, as this highlights the duality of silicon as an element and silicone as the polymer. Aside from the clear changes in the music throughout, what movement qualities do you associate with the two different sides?
I wanted to highlight the women in the company. So that's why the 4 professional women are dancing this piece. And I wanted to show how strong and powerful women are and how productive they can be. And I also wanted to show the beauty of a woman. And for every woman, that means something different, because what makes you feel beautiful really is your own personal interpretation. Not everyone feels beautiful in the same way, but I wanted to definitely highlight the qualities of a strong woman. And so you see the dancers go in and out of being these very productive business women. I let them all choose what they wanted to be. Each one of them represents their own business perspective. But then when we get into the pleasure part of the piece, I wanted to really highlight, again, the beauty of a woman, the body of a woman, and to how sexy they can be and lovely. And I feel like sometimes too, in this piece, you're kind of like the outside looking in, as if they were in their room by themselves. I guess you can get a lot of different perspectives from that, kind of feeling like you're looking from the outside in. You can kind of see a lot of different qualities in each of the women.
So one of my favorite pieces in Elemental is silicon or silicone. I really enjoyed the transition from sharp, pedestrian, and powerful movements to these smooth, sexy, and beautiful movements. I think it really shows the dancer's range and versatility. And now let's watch a short clip.
So Bree and Jesse, we can talk about what you guys want to do musically. This piece is complete. The timing needs cleaned up, but all the choreography is here, so we can figure out what we need to do musically. Now this should be business and pleasure overlapping. Some people are going back to work. Lola is going to stay.
Act 2, Scene 5, we introduce arsenic. Arsenic has both harmful and healing qualities. And Josh, I'm wondering if you can explain to us how that works.
So arsenic is really interesting because most functioning adults have this kind of baseline awareness that arsenic is a poison, right? You know, you grow up, you find you're told don't eat that. You know, you read or at least see on the shelf arsenic and old lace, and you know that it's something that people use to poison each other, either intentionally or accidentally. What I found was when I was working at Northwestern, I had a collaboration with Professor Tom O'Halloran. He was kind of bringing everybody together to make particles of arsenic that would specifically target cancer cells. So the idea was that yeah, it's toxic, but if you can deliver it to just things that you want to get rid of, then it could be really good. And so he had this whole program developing and actually packaging these particles of arsenic. It was actually really interesting because it was arsenic and that was linked to platinum, and then making nanoparticles out of that, and then coating them in various ways, and then delivering them to cells, and specifically cure. And that coating, that packaging would be designed so that it would specifically target the cancer cells only and not anything else. And so that once it got incorporated into the cancer cells, then it would blow up, and then the arsenic would go, and then the cells would say, "Oh my God, I'm going to die," and then they die. And so that's what you want. So I thought that this was really interesting in that you could use this element that we normally think of as scary and bad, but then kind of direct its energy in a way that we want to make it beneficial. So that kind of I really appreciated that duality of this element.
Una Tarpey is our youth company member, and we are so excited to feature in this ballet. Una chose arsenic as her favorite piece in Elemental. She says, and I'm quoting, "I enjoy dancing in arsenic because it is more modern than ballet, which is new to me. I enjoy learning new steps and techniques. We all have our own character in this dance, so it is really interesting putting on a different persona." Now enjoy this clip from Arsenic.
So these are glowing lights, holding the lights out. Keep going. So this is still in the chanting section. This should all line up where we exit.
The big finale, where it's scene 6 of Act 2, and it's helium. Josh, this particular element is becoming extinct. Can you tell us why that is?
These terms of extinct and endangered, when you apply them to elements, are really interesting. You need to kind of think about them a little bit. In that, you look at the periodic table, you have all these elements, and they're basically just there. They're substances that we find in the universe, and they exist. So it's not like say there will be a species of tiger that once the last tiger dies, we'll never have any tigers again, because once the last atom of iron is gone in some confined space, there's still iron somewhere else, and it's possible that it could be made again. You can go to a supernova and you can find it somewhere in the universe. The element helium is a lot different. It's the second most abundant element in the universe, so you'd think that we'd have a lot of it, but if we look at the amount of it on Earth, as opposed to the universe as a whole, it's a lot different. So the sun has plenty of helium in it, but we can't actually just go and grab a bunch of helium from the sun to go get it, right? We're confined to this planet. So where does helium come from on this planet? Where surely some must have gotten trapped when the Earth formed. There's all this stuff kind of forming, and maybe pockets of helium appeared. But really, most of the helium that is here is it comes from radioactive decay. So you have a very heavy element, and we say that decays, and so it'll become one element, but then it'll also split off a small bit, and that maybe that's helium, maybe it'll become something else, and then that decays into helium. But basically, you get this buildup of helium from other elements decaying. And that's great. Most of this decay happens deep within the earth, or within the earth's crust. Then you release it into the atmosphere. You say, hello, helium, you're out of the earth's crust. We can now do something with you. We can fill party balloons and breathe it and make our voices funny and have a good time. And then once we're done, it goes away to space. And so it just, because if you have helium, it's so light that it just floats off into space. And so it has left the earth. And if it keeps on leaving the earth, then, well, how do we get more? It's not like we go to the helium factory and make more. So we really have to rely on the helium that's still trapped in the ground, and we've got to keep it in the ground until we really need it.
Tiffany, when you choreographed this piece, it was before the COVID-19 outbreak. Now this piece sort of takes on a whole new meaning. What message did you hope to convey to the audience through this piece beforehand? And how has that message changed or evolved given the current state of the world?
Wanted to kind of get the audience thinking, what would it look like if we as humans were actually becoming extinct? So in the piece, the dancers are representing helium, so they're helium becoming extinct, but the audience probably would make a connection to humans becoming extinct, especially given the COVID-19 right now, which again, I choreographed this before that outbreak happened, but I think that the audience will make a connection to kind of the pandemic that we've been through lately. But I think most importantly, we as a world need to think about how we're taking care of our world and how we are making an impact on certain things like helium, and how that could very much affect us and our world.
Lawson Dance Theater's board member, Nathan Cover, had this to say about helium.
I think helium's definitely got to be my favorite. It's got a little bit of everything that Act 2 has, which is a lot of like really contrasting dynamics in it that make it very interesting. You got life in there and death, and I don't want to give too much away about the way that it begins or the way that it ends, but it just connected with me a lot for right now, because it feels like, I don't know, that's what days feel like right now. There's like everything is heightened, everything is dramatic. Like you might feel one way, and then 5 minutes later you might feel a totally different way about something. So it has that kind of quality about it, but it also, I think, captures some of what all of the second act is about, really. So that was definitely my favorite.
And now let's watch a rehearsal clip from Helium. Today's spotlight is on our lighting designer, Chris Bressberg. He put together a short video and shared a few of his sketches. Let's watch.
So something that really excites me about this project is the intersection between arts and science. So when Tiffany contacted me about the project, I went into kind of a research and reading phase to kind of brush up what I know about basic chemistry and elements. And I think of science a lot of times as kind of a static entity of what is known. And looking back um, and researching, I learned that a lot of these theories have progressed and there's new science behind a lot of stuff. Some old theories have been kind of revised and revisited. And I really think that underlies this kind of scientific curiosity, which I think works very well with an artistic curiosity of not only looking forward and wondering what's new, but taking that kind of new information and revisiting the past with it to try to understand it better. And I think that's something that really comes out within this work is this kind of curiosity of understanding what's around us. Something else that really excites me is a lot of the inherent dichotomies that are set up in both the movement and the structure that Tiffany has come up with. These dichotomies really illustrate a tension or a contrast between certain elements. For instance, arsenic, which is both used as a poison but can also help people. And there's also different sections, like there's the section of water that's followed up by the section of energy. Both have very different movements that are inherent within them. And that kind of dichotomy allows me to contrast a lot of stuff and build tension within the design to kind of illustrate some bigger concepts that Tiffany, I, and other designers have kind of talked about.
Thank you all so much for watching our sneak peeks today. We really appreciate your continued support, and we will be seeing you in the theater soon for the premiere of Elemental. Until then, stay tuned for updates and more videos. And if you're able, we would love you to consider making a donation to Lawson Dance Theatre. There are links to PayPal and our GoFundMe campaign on the website, www.tiffanylawsondance.com. Stay safe, stay strong, and stay compassionate. Cheers.